This review video is going to be more focused on just the performance of this Inergy Flex 1500. My first video I put out was talking a little bit more on the layout and the specs that Inergy stated. We'll talk over a little bit of that, but mostly I'll be talking about the actual performance I've seen out of it. Just very quickly going over layout. Top half of the unit is DC, does not involve the use of the inverter. Bottom half, all of these 110 to 120 volt AC outputs require the inverter to run, which usually draws around 6 watts of power, even if nothing is running besides just the inverter itself. I have it plugged in right now charging. It's not solar charging anymore because the sun's down, but I've been using it a lot in the last couple of weeks, which is why I'm charging it right now. I'm also charging my phone off of it, just to show you. Phone alone, running off the DC side, discharges at 10 watts. So if it's got 1,000 watt hours of power off the battery, then you can expect to charge a phone for 100 hours straight. Obviously it doesn't take nearly that long to charge a phone, so depending on how much you use your phone will determine how much, without replenishing this battery, you can continue to charge a cell phone. So we'll get that out of the way. Going just off of the stated specs list from Inergy's website, they're claiming that you can run a average size refrigerator or freezer for between 20 and 40 hours. From what I saw, just with a 7.1 cubic foot chest freezer, the similarly powered kitchen refrigerator, I was much closer to like 18 hours tops from full charge to discharge. None of these ratings are while being continuously charged, so that will affect the runtime if you are able to add more power to the unit via solar input. So that was one difference. I think what the website is referring to is the DC powered, like camp style refrigerator freezers, because those are typically between 35 and 65 watts. So obviously a much higher runtime than a full size refrigerator or freezer, because those run closer to 700 watts. Also, most camp style refrigerators and freezers are DC powered, so it does not involve use of the AC side, which also saves you some power there. So even if the compressor on the freezer or refrigerator is not running, you're still draining the battery off of this if you have it plugged into these ports. That doesn't mean that as soon as the power runs out that the food's going to go bad, so you can potentially extend the like safe life of your food in your refrigerator or freezer sufficiently with this, depending on how long it takes for the power to come back on. But that is like the main difference between the stated specs seen on the website and what I actually saw. Depending on what size television, potentially as many as or as few as 110 watts, so between 30 and 36 hours. Laptops, mine did run right at 50 watts from the wall charger. However, once again, it uses 6 watts to just run the inverter, so closer to 56 watts total. So according to the website, as many as 46 charges. I'm just going straight off of the 1,069 watt hours via one flex battery, so saying 18 hours of continuous use, however many charges that takes. It will differ between the laptop being on or off. So similar to a refrigerator or freezer running on and off to keep the temperature at the setting that you selected for what temperature in your freezer. We said phone at 10 watts would give you 100 hours of charge time. Also, another thing, one of the accessories you can buy for this unit is one of these little electric powered little saucepans. So if you're using it to warm up food for coffee or like a Mountain House meal, then maybe somewhere around 12 ounces, or if you're going to do 2 separate servings, 24 ounces. And while we're talking through the rest of this stuff, I'll have this running so you guys can see how long it takes, the kind of amount of power that it uses, and you can get a little bit better idea of what you can expect out of the unit for running things like this. Obviously, cool thing about an electric heat pan like this is it does not make any noise. It doesn't release any sort of gas or chemical, so you don't need to worry about like doing this outside. If it's cold outside and you're warming this up in your car, that will help reduce the heat loss that you have coming off of just radiant heating. Currently 72 degrees. And I'll show you, it'll take around 11 minutes to warm this up to 130 degrees, and then another 15-20 minutes from there to get it all the way to boiling. See that this thing plugged in and stabilized. Once I disconnect the charge input, it's discharging at 182 watts. The box was stated at 160, so estimated runtime from 73% is 4 hours and 37 minutes. Obviously you're not going to run it continuously, and if you're only running it for 10-11 minutes to get up to 130 degrees, if you're only using it for 10 or 11 minutes, then you're looking at 30 to 40 watt hours, which means you can run this without recharging it as many as So if you're running this at the 180 watt discharge rate for only 30 minutes, you're looking at 90 watt hours of power usage. Which means that if you only need 12 ounces of water per Mountain House meal, then you can make 80 of those if you're heating 24 fluid ounces of water at a time. The frying pan and electric grill versions of these obviously will run more power. It'll give you a lot less runtime, but that gives you the capability of actually like cooking something instead of just like slowly warming water to then make a dehydrated meal. As far as the solar panels, it's hard to mess up the connection. The EC8 connection that goes into the left side of the unit is directional, and you can't put it in the wrong direction. And then the other end that goes into the solar panels, they got a male and a female end. The ends that come off of the back of the panel are the exact same. These are the storm panels. So they're rated at 100 watts each. They are 82 by 67.5 centimeters, which ends up being 2 feet 8 inches by 2 feet 2 inches. That's 1 inch thick. They weigh around 15 pounds, so they're a little heavier than I thought they'd be, but still definitely manageable. The box that they came in is probably the best way to store them, in my opinion, so they don't get damaged. But pretty easy to use. Like I said, the connections are identical to the connection that goes into the extended cable that plugs into the side of the unit. So this is the male and a female end that comes straight off of this. Going off of the specs back here on the back, each panel is 100 watts, 17.8 volts, and 5.68 amps. These panels are less portable than the folding panels. These are designed to be a little bit more permanent, either for mounting to the outside of a vehicle or a camper or an RV, maybe possibly a more permanent mounting solution for the outside of your house. Temperature is currently 128 degrees. And we've only used a couple percent of the battery life of the unit. Obviously I've been charging it at roughly 40 watts since we started the video, but still it actually looks like it's almost starting to boil along the bottom. since starting filming the beginning of this portion of the video. Haven't done a great job of actually keeping track of the time, so I'll have to just check that while editing and then put that in the comments or insert that in the video. But since we started showing that the temperature is 140 degrees, the water might be a little bit warmer than that. Yeah, 145.5 degrees. Not bad. Solar panels finally got delivered a couple days ago this week, so they've been hooked up and charging all morning. They're the second generation storm panels, basically as close to full sun as I can get. They're easy to connect. You just connect in series one positive side to the other one's negative side. It's hard to mess up because of the way the connectors are built. And then the other side, the negative side from this first panel, the positive side of the other panel, connect to the cable that gets you that EC8 connection out to the actual charge unit. And it's showing after it stabilizes from me having been blocking some of the light. 142 watts of solar input. So it's been charging for a couple hours this morning. I think it's as close to direct sun as I can get, so definitely less than the optimum 100 watt output from each panel, because two 100 watt panels putting out a total of 142 watts means it's going to take 4 hours and 16 minutes to charge from the current charge rate of 48%. It started off at 5 or 6 this morning, so it's been charging for 2 hours. Pointing the panels a little bit closer towards the direct sun, pointing the panels towards the sun a little bit closer. Shows 149 watts of solar input, so it's as close as I can get to optimal conditions. 100 watt panels for a combined of 150 watts is a little less than I was expecting for sure. At this charge rate, it's going to take 4 hours and 5 minutes from 48% charge. It's been charging for a couple hours. It started this morning, and it's been averaging out between 150 and 160. But maybe that's what you can expect between just two 100 watt panels, unless you start adding more. So in addition to all of the use cases that we've talked through so far, you can also power small things like small aquariums like this. If I lost power, I would be able to charge this or run this and keep everything alive a little longer than if I had to just leave all the pumps and heaters and filters off. So running the aquarium only uses 36 watts. The heater's not currently on. That would pull a little bit more power. Depending on what time of year will determine how long the heater runs. But everything's running, all the pumps and lights and everything. They're all connected to this same surge protector. So as soon as I turn off the unit, everything turns off on the tank. As soon as I turn it back on, everything will kick back on the tank. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching.